You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Starting tomorrow, Winnipeg audiences will have the opportunity to travel or travel back to Neverland with the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. Peter Pan returns to the Centennial Concert Hall with Tinkerbell, Wendy, the Lost Boys, and yes, the infamous Captain Hook. Joining me this morning is RWB Principal Conductor Julian Pellicano. Welcome back to the show, Julian.
Thank you so much, Simon. It's great to be here.
Well, before we get to this production, you yourself just got back from a little bit of travel, not to Neverland, but to Oklahoma, where you were reunited with your former colleague at the WSO, Alexander Micklethwaite. I'm sure many are wondering, how's the maestro doing? How's your time in Oklahoma City?
Alexander Micklethwaite is doing great. It's my second time down in Oklahoma, so it's our second chance to catch up. And, yeah, it's a beautiful city. It's kind of like Neverland, you know? Not so far off. It's wonderful. And the Oklahoma City Philharmonic, we did some film concerts together, Black Panther live in concert, and what a wonderful group of musicians. And, yeah, it was great to see Alexander.
I know I've said this before, but you really have this incredible skill, this knack for live conducting film scores. It's a skill set that you've honed, and it's one that really seemingly has taken you across the continent. I'm curious, do you feel like there's any similarities between what you were doing down in Oklahoma City in terms of, you know, that live score production and conducting WSO in a ballet production? Are there any similarities there?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there definitely are. Most conductors, and myself is included in this, we're trained in North America as symphonic conductors. Some of us are trained in opera, but almost nobody gets any training when you're a student or when you're thinking about becoming a conductor in conducting films, and very few people get any training as ballet conductors. And after conducting a lot of symphonic music and getting into some film conducting through my work at the WSO, I realized that I am the kind of person that's interested in putting things together. And so, when it comes to films, you have to be sensitive to why the music and the film must go together in the way that the director and the composer have orchestrated it on the screen, and therefore your mission is to recreate that. In ballet, it's different because there's the film is basically a robot; it doesn't change. But the dancers, they do change. I mean, they're human beings, but you still have to be equally interested in why is the choreography the way that it is, what is it saying, and what music goes together with that, and what is the ultimate vision for those two things being connected. And if you're not interested in that and you're just interested in the music, then it doesn't really work. And so luckily that's just like who I am. I found out through all of this musical exploration through film. I found out that I just love that. I love everything about it, and it's really served me well in the pit working with dancers in the ballet.
Just about being invested in the story. And the other thing, too, is just that there seems like there's just a real choreography literally involved in both, whether there's the movie on the big screen or the dancers in front of you. There's a lot of moving parts that go into this. And like you say, just being right there and collaborating and being part of the action, it's got to be something real special. So let's chat about Peter Pan, a ballet choreographed by Canadian Jorden Morris, a former RWB principal dancer. Premiered in 2006. It's been staged a number of times since that premiere. Remind me, Julian, have you ever been involved in a Peter Pan production?
No, this will be my first production with Peter Pan, but my relationship with Jorden, it doesn't go back so far, but it's actually quite significant in my ballet career. I worked with him in 2020 when I did Moulin Rouge here in Winnipeg, and that was the last production that was the last thing I conducted before all of our concerts were shut down on March 13th of 2020. And since then, Jorden and I have kept up a very close dialogue. In fact, he's the artistic director of Orlando Ballet, and I've been down there twice.
Say, you were just down there, yeah.
I was just there. I did Moulin Rouge with them, and I did one of his more recent ballets, The Great Gatsby, with a wonderful score by Carl Davis, another British composer, and so our working relationship has become very, very close, and so going into the Peter Pan, I totally can see Jorden picking all of this music because I know how his musical brain works. And it's a very astute musical ear that Jorden has, which is why the music for all of his ballets is just so good.
Well, let's talk about the music, because it isn't as if this is some sort of through-composed work like Swan Lake, where all the music was by Tchaikovsky. And in this case, you sort of have this musical mashup, this pastiche. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Pastiche, that's a good word. I've been trying to figure out what to call ballets that are like this. I don't know if there's a real standard term for it, but yeah, a ballet where a choreographer, and it's usually the choreographer who chooses the music, sometimes in consultation with a musician, which is the case in this ballet, but I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, a choreographer will choose a variety of different pieces of music by different composers that are chosen specifically to serve the story. So another example of this in a totally different kind of genre of orchestral music would be The Handmaid's Tale, another great, wonderful RWB production choreographed by Lila York. And Moulin Rouge is the same idea as well, another Jorden Morris ballet, where the music is chosen by a variety of French composers with some other light music, cabaret-style music thrown in there for good measure. Right.
We just heard a little bit of music of Eric Coates to open this conversation, the Dam Busters March, which is actually worked into Peter Pan. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, there are there's a limited number of composers. All of the music in Peter Pan is by British composers. Most of it was composed around the time that the story not only was written but takes place. And the Dam Busters March is certainly in there, and it's actually one of the most incredible moments in the ballet. Everyone knows that in this story, people fly, right? And it's the wonderful coda of the Dam Busters March. I don't know if I should give anything away.
All right. People are going to have to be there, but it's well used. So, I mean, you mentioned some of these composers, and they were, I was listening to an interview that Jorden Morris gave, and he said he was talking about how looking for music that might have been heard or likely would have been heard by J.M. Barrie, the novelist, the Scottish novelist who wrote Peter Pan. And so there's music like Eric Coates, there's music of Sir Edward Elgar, there's music of Benjamin Britten and more, right?
Right. There's the other composer that you didn't mention is Montague Phillips.
Montague Phillips. How could I forget Montague Phillips, Julian? Who's Montague Phillips?
Montague Phillips was a composer who was a contemporary of Elgar and Coates, and he wrote probably one of his more famous pieces was an operetta called The Rebel Maid. Some of the music from that operetta is in this ballet as well. But when he passed away in his obituary, I think he was noted as a decidedly 19th century salon music composer. Now, that was in the 1960s. That's what they thought of him. I think he was a really masterful operetta, sort of light music composer in the same realm as Johann Strauss. But British version. Not that he wrote tons of waltzes, but his music is very distinctive, tuneful, dancey, and it just is just a pleasant to listen to.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I feel like very often this music gets dismissed when it's like, yes, some light music. I mean, it sort of comes in the name, right? It's like, it's light, it's frivolous.
Yeah.
But that was very much a popular style and one that had some pretty top-notch composers writing in it.
Yeah, I mean, there is serious music, but as you know, one of my favorite comedians, Jerry Seinfeld, has said, fun is underrated. And so I think that's definitely true in music, and most certainly in classical music and orchestral music. Fun is just simply underrated. A lot of this music is just fun, and there are children. This story is centered around children.
Yeah, and so, I mean, fun is, of course, at the forefront, and this is music that has to be suited to a tale about the boy who would never grow up, of Peter Pan. And, I mean, you've got two thick scores in front of you in two acts, and, I mean, there's a lot of music on here. I think we were talking before. You said 30 or so individual pieces of music?
There's 30 individual pieces of music in this ballet. It's approximately 2 hours of actual music.
Yeah.
You know, the music for ballet, and Jorden is just so good at this, Jorden Morris, he spent so much time sorting through music that just perfectly fits the scene. So when Captain Hook comes on, you feel a menacing presence, but not too menacing.
Yeah.
Because it's still Peter Pan. When Tinkerbell is in an outrage, you can hear that, and it's perfect. Now, did Elgar in his Wand of Youth suite think of Tinkerbell in that music? Absolutely not. Of course not. But it really shows how music can be interpreted. Our music is so deep, and so there's so much in there. It can be interpreted in so many different ways. It's speaking to universal ideas that could be transplanted into a story like this. And
it's one of those stories that's going to be enjoyed by kids and kids at heart alike. I mean, it's just one of those productions that is truly fun for the whole family, right?
Oh, it's totally is fun. There's magic in this, and the dancers fly. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is amazing. If you haven't seen it, Peter Pan opens tomorrow at the Centennial Concert Hall, 7:30 p.m. There's a series of evening performances, a Sunday matinee at 2. Julian, the last question I have for you is, we've been talking about people flying. Are you going to be flying your way into the pit? Do you get your chance to make your way up into the sky?
I was at the theater last night, and they were doing a flying rehearsal, and that's all I was thinking about was, when do I get a chance to fly? Yeah. I would love to be lowered into the pit.
Yeah, very dramatic entrance.
That would be a dream. If there's anyone out there listening who can make that happen.
Yeah, I know. We'll start some sort of petition here on Classic 107 to get Julian flown into the pit.
Yes.
In the meantime, have a safe way getting there, Julian, and have a wonderful run. Break a leg. Yes, RWB, Peter Pan, running from tomorrow, Wednesday through Sunday. Great seeing you as always, Julian.
Thank you very much for having me on.